Welcome to the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. I'm Dan Diker, president of the center, and I'm very delighted to bring you into discussion together with Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, longtime senior director at the Jerusalem Center. We're talking about the hostage deal. Does terror pay? General Kuperwasser, how do we say it's a very difficult moment for Israel right now, having 15 and a half months faced the Iranian-backed Hamas terror organization in Gaza. What it looks like that they're getting the deal of the century from their point of view.
Well, they managed to catch us asleep on 7th of October 2023, and we are now paying the price for this terrible failure and colossal lack of capability to face terror attack. That's what happened on October 7th, and we are now paying the price. We paid the price on the day of the October 7th, the first payment, and now we are paying the final payment. That's the truth. It's painful. What we get in return is the release of some of the hostages. 33 hostages are going to be released, and maybe later on the rest of the hostages are going to be released as well. That's something very important for the Israeli society. That's something that we owe these people that were abducted on that day, and we have to release them. And we thought that we can minimize the payment that goes along with it. We did our best, but at this point, because we decided not to take over Gaza and not to destroy Hamas and defeat them, and only dismantle their military capabilities to some extent, once we decided this is the way we're going to handle the situation, there's a price attached to it, and we are now paying the price. The deal from the strategic point of view is very problematic, because for releasing those hostages, we are allowing the Hamas to stay in power in Gaza. We're allowing Hamas, and this is the most important achievement of Hamas, the most critical point for them. We're allowing so many terrorists to be released from Israeli jails, including murderers, that have life sentences against them. This is going to be a very important force that would be enabling Hamas to regroup and reorganize and have a new leadership. We are allowing Hamas to control the entire area of Gaza Strip with some very minor exceptions. In the end of the planned agreement, Hamas is going to be able to rule over the Philadelphia corridor, which will enable it to again bring back weapons from Egypt and rearm itself. We have concluded an agreement that doesn't give us any legitimacy to operate against Hamas if they bring back weapons. Only if they breach the agreement by breaching the ceasefire and shooting at us, then we shall have the legitimacy to take action against them. But before that happened, we are going back actually to the situation that prevailed before October 7th, where they armed themselves to the teeth and we do nothing. That's and on top of that, we allow the people of Gaza to go back to the northern part of Gaza, which would make any military activity in these areas very complicated and costly. And so from wherever you look at this deal, we pay strategic payments, and no wonder that instead of de-radicalizing the Palestinian society, we're going to radicalize the Palestinian society even further, because what the lesson learned for everybody is that terrorism pays off.
Well, I think that is the painful headline of our discussion this morning, is that at this moment, terror has paid for the Hamas, and it has fashioned what we call in Hebrew toda'ah, or cognitive warfare, perception warfare, has played a key role in this entire process. And I think this is a climax of the perception warfare that the Hamas has forged and has forced down Israel's throat, and has actually co-opted the international discourse on this war. Hamas is now mainstreamed. Hamas is a internationally legitimized partner for a ceasefire, hostage negotiation deal. It's being reported all over the West that it's Hamas versus Israel. Just to create a moment of context, Yossi, after 9/11, it would have been unthinkable for the United States to consider Al-Qaeda some sort of negotiating partner, or the United States and the Western Alliance during the Second World War to consider the Nazis a negotiating partner. But here, this is the reality in which the eighth front, which is the cell phone war, the iPhone warfare, the constant fishbowl hyper-focus in information warfare, on Israel as being perceived as the strong horse, and Hamas being perceived in so many corners as the liberation fighters. This type of distortion, this warped sense of reality, can actually create a new reality. And it seems, Yossi, that is exactly what has happened from a cognitive, perceptual standpoint in this war, leading to this very, very difficult moment in this hostage for ceasefire deal.
It's even more than that, because Hamas is seen as the winner of the war in this perspective. And this is going to make Hamas stronger inside the Palestinian community. And it's going to make the message of Hamas stronger within Muslim and Arabs all over the world. And this is a threat not only for Israel, because this is going to encourage terrorists from the areas controlled by the Palestinian Authority and elsewhere to operate against Israel and against Jewish targets and against Western targets.
By the way, you bring up a very important point that reminds us of another even more painful event for the United States, and that was the self-imposed retreat by the American forces from Afghanistan at the beginning of the Biden administration, where you had these images of hundreds and even thousands of people running down the runway, chasing the American planes, with the Taliban raising their rifles in victory. And one of the assessments then was, this is going to energize and create enthusiasm for the Hamas, the Hezbollah, and all these other jihadi organizations. And here, what you've said is exactly happening in reverse.
Yeah, it's true. And on top of that, coming back to what you were saying about the legitimacy warfare, the fallout of what happened in the last 15 months is going to continue having an impact on Israel's position and image, because the activity in the Eighth Front is going to continue even if there is a ceasefire on the ground, because the activities of the ICJ and the activities of the ICC are going to be going on. It's not going to stop just because there is a ceasefire. And Khalil al-Hayya, the second in command in Hamas, said, we are going to continue to pursue the activities in ICJ and ICC. That's a war that has to be fought in the coming future as well. And it's a very difficult situation for Israel. That said, we just to balance the sheet.
The balance sheet. Balance the balance sheet of terror.
We should say that Hamas did pay a price. It's not that it accomplished all these achievements without paying any price. Many of its leaders were killed. Many of its operatives were killed. There was a lot of devastation and destruction in the Gaza Strip. It's not for free. And one of the reasons why they were ready to move into this agreement now is because they were under the feeling that they are paying a heavy price and they want to stop bleeding. But that said, it's not enough in order to make the deal, to make the overall balance not in favor of terrorism. Yes, terrorism pays off. That's what was proven by this deal. There are other areas in which we managed to show that we can be more successful when it comes to dealing with the Iranian terror axis. We managed to inflict a heavy blow to Hezbollah. We managed to expose the weakness of Iran, makes it even further more weak than it was before. That these are things that are going to have an impact on the way things are going to develop now, because the focus now is going to be moving to normalization with Saudi Arabia, to dealing with the Iranian nuclear project, all kinds of things in which Israel and the United States under Trump are going to cooperate and try to reshape the Middle East in a better way, and putting the Gaza war behind us.
I think that's the silver lining that we need to consider as we wind up our brief discussion here about the Gaza ceasefire hostage deal, is that there are definitely two meta objectives of the state of Israel, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, together with Minister Ron Dermer, have been leading this diplomatic mission, if you will, on two sides. One, as you said, the prospect of normalization with Saudi Arabia, which made great progress under the first Trump administration in 2016. It was, of course, the Saudis that blessed the Abraham Accord deal with Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and then even ultimately Sudan. And now, according to reports in Israel, the Saudis and Saudi leadership is looking for a ceasefire in order to advance the some sort of Saudi-Israel normalization deal, which is actually very consequential, because we have understood, according to reports coming out of Saudi Arabia and according to His Excellency Mohammed bin Salman himself, they were looking for a Palestinian state as some sort of precondition. But I think we know that there is a lot of flexibility in that particular condition that today has been interpreted and understood to be a ceasefire. So that's one issue. The other issue is the existential threat that the Islamic Republic of Iran still presents to Israel through a potential nuclear weapons breakout decision, which you have said yourself, as an expert on the Iranian regime file, could bring nuclear weapons and a potential nuclear attack within weeks or just a few months. So those are the two larger issues that may be the silver lining, but there's one additional, maybe even golden lining, and that is, if we have been watching the confirmation hearings of President Trump's national security team, his diplomacy team, and we heard the incoming national security director, Mike Waltz, say he wants to see every Hamas leader and operative dead. He said it publicly. He said it in his confirmation hearing. We heard very similar things from incoming Secretary of State Mark Rubio. So there's a really strong reason to believe that this war against Hamas is taking a temporary respite, but ultimately may not be over at all, and may serve Prime Minister Netanyahu's promise that you and I actually heard personally of total victory, which may be in this long war, still on the table.
Maybe, but the feeling I get from President Trump himself, not from his team, is that this is all relevant only if Hamas gives us an excuse and resumes the terror operations. And I think that Hamas is not going to do that. They're not stupid. They're not going to do that in the foreseeable future. And that means that the Gaza war is more or less over, whether we like it or not. There is still a chance that the war is going to be resumed, but the chances that it's going to materialize are low, in my mind. And we are moving to other issues now. And this means that Hamas is staying in power in Gaza, and this was one of the goals of the war, to remove it from power, to remove Hamas from power. This is not going to be reached, unfortunately. Sometimes you can't get everything you want. It's because we decided that releasing the hostages is the most important issue right now. And what Trump wants to prove, that he is a president that within his presidency is able to move towards peace. That's what he was saying as a reaction, his reaction to the signature of the achieving of the deal. And in my mind, that explains what is his motivation. Of course, if Hamas gives us an excuse, then we should use it. But I cannot build on them giving us the excuse.
You know, just to sum up, probably the greatest rock star in the history of modern rock, Mick Jagger, said in one of his famous songs, "You can't always get what you want." And it means in this case that one of the tentacles of the Iranian octopus is growing back, might even be stronger. However, I wouldn't put it past Israel so quickly not to decapitate the head of the octopus as we move forward. So we may take one step back in order to move two steps forward. Maybe. And that we'll have to end it on the maybe, because that's where we are. Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, the head of strategic developments and Middle East affairs here at the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. And I'm Dan Diker, and thank you very much. It's been an important, brief discussion, and a discussion brief on a very difficult moment for Israel. But then again, maybe maybe.
It's not a difficult moment, I think. It's a mixed feelings moment. It's difficult from a strategic point of view. It's a good moment for the hostages and everybody in Israel to see them coming back home. It's something that's going to fill us with joy and happiness.
Also a very good point. So we'll end it on that positive note. Thank you, Yossi Kuperwasser.
Thank you.